Hello there, SERAPHIM17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 3, SL1 NG+7, no damage run. Fall damage and poison damage are exempt of the stipulations. It's inspired by Hado, and we are on the high wall of Lothric. Look at this, by the way, look at it! Oh my goodness, this game looks so good on PC, dude, it's not even funny. Some of the vistas, it's almost like they've removed the Vaseline from my eyes and now everything looks beautiful. It's such a good realization that the game can look so good just by having that extra boost of hardware. But fingers crossed the footage should look a little bit better now. And hopefully that huge truck going by wasn't too loud on the microphone. So the high wall of Lothric, an area that we all just kind of run through and get out of the way. A beautiful area and an area that is filled with hollows. The hollows have an interesting rally ability where they can get their forces to come with them and start attacking you with broken straight swords like that fellow. And a lot of the people praying can get up as well, so be careful of that. One-handing this axe at soul level 1 is just not possible technically, because you'll notice that the weapon says there's a cross on it and will do reduced damage, but that being said, this weapon is so good that it still does pretty good damage even if you can't wield it, which is one of the reasons why I think the SL1 stuff in this game is probably the easiest in the series. And I know that sounds kind of crazy when you consider that like Demon Souls and Dark Souls are almost tame compared to these later Souls games when it comes to the complexities and the dangers. But this weapon is so goddamn good. It really is. It's one of those things where once you realise just how good this weapon is, all the other weapons pale in comparison. They really do. And I think it's fair though, because the weapon itself is kind of unwieldy in some ways. It's a pretty slow swinging axe. You know, you've got to pick your swings. You can't just swing away crazily like some fetishistic Signs fan. And I enjoy the fact that you have to be precise with it, as I swap between rings here to put the Chloranthy on instead of the Hornet, and then we push on past the dragon and his grand appearance, and then we hope we don't die on the door here. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the jump with all these people following me, so I'm just going to drop down onto the table, pop up the ladder, and then continue on, and we're going to come up against our first Lothric Knight, which is probably the first part of this run where you get a little bit worried, because this dude is a wrecking crew. And for good reason too, because I believe he's kind of inspired by the Boulder Knights, so they wanted somebody to be intimidating and reminiscent of those flowing caped assholes. But this guy is way worse. Like, the Boulder Knights were always a problem, but they generally were kind of... They were evil in that perfect AI way, where they would catch you in the one thing you didn't want them to do when they do that. But for the most, they would be quite cooperative. That guy there that we just killed, he is not cooperative at all. He is very mean, not my favourite enemy by any stretch of the imagination, and he's killed me a ton of times. If you want to see that guy embarrass me a whole bunch, check out my blind playthrough of this game. That dude really hurt my pride that day. He was very dangerous. I'm also going to get chased by a thief here, so when I hit this bonfire you're going to see a transition, because he did hit me, the motherfucker. They always do, little shits. I think he threw a knife as well. It was something really innocuous that you wouldn't expect, but alas... If you were wondering how the stipulations of the no damage run goes, it's not the type where if I take damage I restart the entire game. I'm not that kind of person. I actually like to have fun. This is literally bonfire to bonfire. As long as you can get from the bonfire to the next bonfire without incurring damage from the enemies, then you've completed that area. And as long as you beat the boss without incurring damage from them, then you've beat that boss, and that's just what you do until you get to the end. I would recommend anybody to try this challenge, because it is very fun, but you need to be aware that these games hurt you a lot. It's what they're designed to do, and you will get hit by some of the most ridiculous stuff unless you're playing incredibly well. And there's no real avoiding some of them, and I'm not going to say that they're impossible to avoid. I'm just going to say that sometimes you get those moments where the game just lines up perfectly, and unless you do the perfect response to it, you're going to take damage. If you were doing this on a normal new game, it would be a lot more manageable because everything dies a little bit quicker. But on these later new game cycles, you have to hit the enemies, you have to commit to hitting them, and you have to kill them, you know. That's another one of the stipulations of the run. You have to at least engage in some of the people you come across. Like, for this purposes right now, I'm not going to attack those two knights up there. I'm going to wait for when I go for Dancer, and I'll kill them then. You know, it's just one of those things. it's so, like, look at the bloodstain, you know, I died on these stairs, and I know exactly how I died here, because I went to do a plunge attack on this guy like this, and I rolled instead of jumping because the controls are fucking different. And it was that wonderful moment of I rolled directly to him and he poked me with a spear. It's the silly things that catch you out. You'd be surprised. It's always the silly things. But here comes Vordt, Vordt of the Boreal Valley, everybody's favourite boss. Weak to darkness, I believe, but I do think lightning hurts him as well. I don't have any human pine resin, so I'm going to pop lightning on my weapon, and then we're going to go and take on our big buddy here. He killed me, of course, a few times, because I'm not all that learned with the bosses. And this boss is way more fun in 60 frames per second, guys. I can actually see what he's doing, it's wonderful. And you know, one of the things I didn't realise, you know when he does that second hit, when you're kind of under him and it hits you and you don't know why? I saw it on this PC version. It was the first time I think I've ever seen it. Like, I just couldn't tell what was happening. I think it's after this, where he just adjusts himself and slams it down. I'll see if I can show you. No, it's not that one. It's like a ground thump, and I don't think I've ever seen it as clearly as I saw it in one of these runs. So it was really nice to see what was hurting me, but you're not going to be able to see too much because this guy dies so very quickly. But here is second phase. So I'm going to dodge the second phase. I'm going to go in for a hit on his face to get the stun. I use the pine bundle to buff. There's the stun. I should do charged R2 into R1, but I thought the R1 would kill him. I'm an idiot. So that could have been ended immediately. Watch this as well. See the invincibility coming out of that animation? Very close. But Vordt is one of those bosses that's only tricky when you get kind of annoyed at him. You know, when you get unlucky, or you get one of those patterns and you do a bad roll. But for the most, he's a pretty simple dude. But there's the Ember. There's the souls we get from him. 19,125 souls. And there's the double check at the level, just to give you an idea of what I am. Notice how our damage is now 519. A little bit better, isn't it, than, what was it, 235 on that first video? Thank you for watching. You take care now.